Okay, we are live.
Yes.
We are live at 11:05. I am BC. This is Spirit Cars, and this is the Blue Moon. Put some different wheels on here. This looks pretty cool, don't it? Although, Larry, we may have to have a talk. I'm not sure that the profile on the front wheel is going to work. I can say one thing: I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. So we'll deal with that once we get it and move it around. But I think on the turn it's going to hit. So. Minor problem, we can change that. So we're working the car. I was actually thinking about it. I appreciate y'all watching, because any good programming needs to have conflict and resolution and character development. And we really don't give you much of any of that. I'm just who I am, and you ain't going to see me develop any after this many years. I'm pretty much, it is what you see. The conflict and resolution has usually been pretty well dealt with before you get here, or sometimes in the middle of it. The only conflict we may have today, I'm getting ready for some urethane. But I can tell you about some conflict we had previously trying to put this together. We're putting, again, Larry built the chassis and the motor and supplied us with some of the parts, and we've got a Vintage Air, a Gen 2 air unit in there. And why don't you come around this way and kind of show the inside of it from that side.
Yep.
And here's the trunk. Eddie and I are both working on it now. Eddie's putting the interior panels for the trunk. We've got a gas tank in here. This will open up a little bit to get to it. We had to sink that in to get a little extra trunk room. But right now, and you'll hear me talk about it quite a bit as far as pre-thinking things. And so we pre-thought it enough where we knew we didn't have a lot of room for this unit. So we've actually got this dash forward. If you can see how it comes to a 90 right here, normally this dash will sit back about a ½ inch. So we thought about that when we built the body. We knew what kind of a unit we're going to have here for the evaporator and everything. So all that's in there, the heat and that. We have James. Are you going to be on video? Our handy dandy O'Reilly guy delivering some parts here. So anyway, we got that in. We had to pull this out. Reading their instructions, it's pretty clear that make sure it fits before you put it in, because it doesn't fit anything. It's a universal unit, and coming around here, especially getting all these lines out for the heat and for the AC, it's just tight. We've got the ability to make some parts and fittings, and we actually had to do that, and we took and had the aluminum parts and welded it together, so we were able to make that happen. We put the unit in first, where they recommend make sure your lines will go through. We knew we only had X amount of room for this unit, so we put the unit in first and had to build everything around that. Got that in, all of my AC lines are in, I'm happy, good to go. This is a very cool insert for the gauges, but what happened, I don't have no room for the gauges. So I mean, this is a deep one, and this one's not quite as deep, but I have limited room. It goes right up against that box. So what I had to do, I had to modify the box some. So don't worry about doing that kind of stuff. Just make sure what's in there, and that you don't do something structurally to the box that there's a flapper in there, you know, that don't work. So what I had to do, there was 3 outlets for the units here. You can see on top we've got our vents for the defroster. There's two holes in the back for that. This happened to be on this Vintage Air. So there was one I didn't need. I cut it off. We covered the hole. I got 2 holes on the side. You can see I've got my vents come around. These are attached already to come around. What I've done, and this is a FYI, I left this one out so I can show you. I don't remember if they showed in this one, but when I first did it, the unit comes together like this, and it's really clean and tight. But unless you know this unscrews, you don't know it unscrews. So what you can do, this unscrews. I know that the Southern Air one we use has a chrome trim ring around it and looks pretty good, but the depth On the southern air, it's not as deep, so that lets me go quite deep into the dash. You got to be careful. And on the southern air one too, this will push out unless it's butted up against that. This vintage air one is actually pressed into that. So I can just put this in, take my collar in the backside, screw it on. It gets tight, I can put the whole thing together. So we got all this going together, looking good. So I'm getting ready for wiring, working with Eddie. We're gonna start running the wires. We make a decision that we're gonna run the wires on the inside, we're gonna run the wires on the outside. We both like it on the inside. This is like hot rodding with a buddy. And we happen to both be working on this car at the same time.
Just drop it off, will be a while.
So now here's the deal. Can I put urethane on without getting urethane all over me? Probably not. But the way we've got our back windows here, we flush mount our back windows and we flush mount our windshield. But I'm going to install the back window here. You can see we put a panel in here, so it's got a flat spot around the back here. And what I can do, I can just run a bead of urethane around this, and I'm going to go ahead and squish my glass into that. And you can see on the outside here, I've got some masking tape on it. So we'll just urethane this, stick the window, and go around to the other side.
Try to go to the other side.
I want to make sure I get enough on here that it's going to ooze out a little bit. I don't want so much it's going to be messy though. Here's kind of a tip. You want to take the pressure off or this will keep oozing out. On this urethane, if you don't tape it up, it'll, within a few hours, it'll start hardening, and then by overnight it'll harden all the way through it. But if you take some masking tape, and just wrap it around like so, you can save your partial tube of urethane. It will last a whole lot longer that way. And this is all I do. I don't worry about sticking anything in there. In worst case, probably you have to pull a little bit of the knob off the end of it and it'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do now, I've cut my glass. We're putting tinted glass on the sides. It's going to hold itself up there some, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and tape it up to keep it from sliding down. If you've got a great big window, maybe in the back glass, you might want to put something underneath it so it'll sit against it. But a lot of times, just a couple pieces of tape will hold it into place. You're good to go. Now, you can see on the outside, it's very clean. But what I want to do, I want to wipe it around. Now there's a couple areas where it didn't squish all the way through. I want to make sure it squishes all the way through everywhere, or at least it's filled. That silence. And we're live, so